I want to start off by showing a project in Visual Studio. This project is built on .NET Core, and this is a simple web API app which has a Angular front end. And as you can see, I only have a couple of controllers here. The first one here I have is a customer controller, which just simply returns back a list of customers, as well as a server controller, which gives me some information on the server, like the machine name and host IP address. Also in this project, I do have just the HTML and JavaScript file, which uses Angular to show the results of the web API, the REST web API controllers. Also in this file, I do have some Docker files that Visual Studio created for me, which I simply just came over here to the project, right-clicked, clicked Add, and then added Docker support, and it auto-generated these Docker files. And I didn't modify these. These already came straight out of the box here. And I'll go ahead and run this project. And as you can see, I simply just show the server information on the left hand here, as well as the customer list that comes from that REST API, web API controller. Now, like I said, this is built on .NET Core, which is similar to the existing MVC framework. The only difference is that since this is .NET Core, I can now run this on multiple platforms like Mac and Linux. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. So I am actually on a Mac VM right now. So I'll go ahead and toggle over to the Mac environment. Now to build this in a Mac, you will have to use some CLI commands. So right now I am currently in the bash shell, and I am in the folder, which is the same exact project folder as my Windows environment for the Visual Studio project. The first thing that I have to do to go ahead and build this is do a command called .NET Restore. And what this will do is bring in all the dependencies needed to build the project. The next command I can do is actually run it within the Mac environment. And this will compile, and this will go ahead and deploy it using the 5,000 ports. So I'll go make sure this works. Now we can see that same .NET project running on a Mac. Again, this is a web API project, so I can actually see the REST calls that I'm calling from the UI. Now, since I have this running directly in the Mac, another thing that I can do is put this into a Docker container. Now, I actually have Docker installed onto this Mac, as you can see on the top here. So to push this into a Docker container, I'll go back to my bash shell, and I will publish it using the following command. So it's compiled it. Since it was already compiled, it went ahead and put the files in this publish folder. So on my left-hand bash shell, I'll actually open up this folder. I will need to escape these spaces. All right. So now I am in the publish folder, which has all the DLLs and dependencies all packaged up. So now I'll enter the command to build a Docker container. I just need to give it a name. I will prefix it by my Docker Hub account, followed by the name of the container. And what this will do is pull down all the dependencies that this container has, and one of them being the Microsoft.NET Core library. And we'll build a fully packaged image that I can then use to build it. Now that the image has been built, I can now take this image and start running this in Docker as a container. Before I do that, I'll check to make sure that the image is there by using Docker image command. And I can see I have two images now. One of them is the one I just built, which I'm calling .NET Everywhere, as well as it did bring down the Microsoft .NET Core image. So I'll go ahead and run this as a container. All right, now that I have the container running, I can check to make sure that the container is running by using a ps command, which now show that I have the container running on port 0000 on port 80. So I'll go ahead and test that. No. Index. Now I can see I have this running on my Mac, but more importantly, running within a Docker container. So this is nice, right? So I've showed it running in 3 environments, Windows, Mac, and now in a Docker container. The next step is really, can I run this now in the cloud and take all the advantages of hosting it in a Docker container, and I'll demonstrate that next. So one thing that I will have to do before I get this over into the cloud is I need to put this image in a repository that then the cloud server can pull from and start running. So Docker has a repository called Docker Hub, which is pretty much a GitHub for Docker images. So to push it to the Docker Hub is fairly straightforward. So I'll come back over here. And I will push this to, so first thing I will need to do is log into Docker. All right, now that I'm logged in, I can push it to Docker Hub using the following command. And what this will do is push all the bits up. What's nice is it'll only push the layers that are unique. So for the .NET Core, since that layer is already there, it doesn't make another copy. All right, this image has been pushed to Docker Hub. I'll come back over here and refresh. Now I can see my new image in Docker Hub. So the next step is to go ahead and run this in the cloud. Now, currently, I do have a VM in the cloud hosted on Azure, which is just a simple Ubuntu Linux distro image And on that image, I have Docker installed, as well as a open source library called Rancher, which really allows a nice UI on top of the containerization technology, which is Docker. So to go ahead and deploy this on Rancher, the first thing I'll have to do is create what they call a stack. And really, a stack is just a collection of services and containers. So I'll go ahead and create that. So the first thing I can add is a service, which will be my container. Now I can run one, or I can run multiple. So I'll go ahead and select two. And it's asking for an image, so I'll go back to Docker Hub here, and this is the name of my image. And get a hold of it. There we go. I'll plug that in here. And that's simply it. So I'll go ahead and create those. Oh, I need to give it a name. All right. Now what this is going to do is create two containers with that image that I loaded to Docker Hub. And that will just take a couple minutes because it's downloading the initial image. Once the initial image there, to spin up another containers is fairly quick. Now, one thing I will have to do, since I do have two containers, I do need to put a load balancer in front of it. So, and Rancher makes this very easy. I just simply click Add Load Balancer. Give it a name. And what port do I want to balance it on? And what service do I want to point to? So again, Rancher makes this very, very easy to go ahead and set up just using UI. So I'll create that. Now that I have the load balancer in place, I really have everything I need to go ahead and have this work. Just so we can see, this Rancher will show you the dependencies, and as you can see, hits the load balancer first, and then we'll go to these two containers. So I'll go ahead and, since this is on port 80, I'll come back over here and enter. And we should see this solution working. Oh, need to go ahead and give it a page to load. Now we have this running in the cloud, in a Docker container. Now, what's the real advantage here? Well, there's a couple, and they're fairly significant. So one advantage is, as you can see, my server name and my local address. As you remember, I created two containers. So if I refresh this page, I can see that now it's doing a round robin against both those containers each time I refresh the page. Now that's cool, but what if I want even more? All I have to do is simply come up over here, scale it up a couple more. It's automatically going to start kicking in. It's going to create some new containers for me. Now I have 4 containers on the same VM. So I'll come back over to customers. Now refresh this. And I should see them cycle between 4. So I got 1. So this ended in a 30. 2, 3, 4, and then I should come back to 30. So what this means is, since I have 4 containers, I'm increasing my density on the host VM. So as I can see here, if I look at the host, which is it's a fairly small host, right? It's only got 2 gigs of memory, 1 core. But I can increase that density of this VM by spinning up 4 ones, which once the image is in place, spin up very quickly. So that's nice, but what if I need to update these images? What if there's changes? How does that affect the running containers? Well, that's where Docker comes into play as well. So I'll go ahead and make a modification I'll come back to my Windows environment, and I'll make a modification to the project here. So I'll change the name here. Call this Jim's Megamart. Now I'll also make a change to the static file on the index. So I'll make a change to my HTML here. So instead of a light blue background, I will go light green. I'll save this. I'm actually still running, so I'll stop. And I will build this. So since that's been built, I come back to my bash shell here. I will do another publish. Now that it's published, I'll come back over to my publish folder. And I will push another one, but I'll give this a version 2. Oh, I need to build the image first. All right, now I'll go ahead and push that to Docker Hub. Now this has been pushed to Docker Hub. I'll just go ahead and verify that over here. So refresh this. And now that I see I have a version 2 here, come back over to Rancher. And again, Rancher makes this very easy where I can come back to my stack here. And I can simply open this up. I can see my .NET Everywhere containers and click over here and just simply click Upgrade. Now that I want to do bring in the version 2, I can go ahead and specify that and then click the Upgrade button. And what will happen is it will upgrade this by spinning up some more containers and then stopping the old ones as the new ones come online. And this will take a few moments. All right, now that the containers have been upgraded, I can see I have 4 stop containers, which is my old image, and then 4 new containers, which is the new image, which is currently live. So I'll come back to my customers and I'll refresh the page. And now I can see it's Jim's Megamart and my background's green. So, and it not only updated one, but it updated all containers. And what's nice about this is I'm upgraded, but I still have the ability at this stage, if I found out something went wrong, I could easily roll back because those containers are still they're stopped, but they're still there. Or I could finish upgrading, which will actually kill the existing older containers. So I'll go ahead and do that. and then that will destroy the old ones and just keep the 4 new ones live. So that concludes my demonstration of .NET Core running on Windows, Mac, Docker, and then the cloud, Docker in the cloud using Rancher. Thank you.